can't stop and listen without looking. We have to do all three. And when we're going to cross a road, no matter where it is, we all have to stand back from the curb, right? We have to stand back from the curb, not on the curb, because the curb drops off onto the road. So where are good places to actually cross the road? There is various places that it's better to cross than others. Traffic lights, great place to cross the road. Obviously, traffic lights is where we should cross if there are some. We always have to wait when it is a red man. And we've got to remember that parent behaviour, actually, our children actually follow it. So if you're waiting at traffic lights and it's a red man and you think it's safe to cross and you do cross over, our children will think it's safe for them to do it as well. We should always wait until it actually changes for a green man to cross. When it does change to a green man to cross, the first thing that we do is not step foot onto that road. We have to have that extra look to make sure that the cars have actually stopped. Because we know that we do get naughty drivers who go through those red lights. We get the green man to cross, they get the red light to stop, and some do not stop. So very important, we do have that extra look to make sure it's safe for us to go onto that road to cross it. And when I do these lessons in schools with children, like year 1, year 2, year 3 children, I do ask them, so whose parents have went through those red lights? And they all at that age, they tell the truth. So they all put their hands up and I say, thank you very much. I will send your parents out a ticket. No, only joking. So where are other good places to cross? Pedestrian zebra crossings is another place to cross. And it doesn't matter if we're crossing at traffic lights or pedestrian zebra crossings. Once again, we all have to stop. We all have to look. We all have to listen, because once again, people driving vehicles should stop when people are waiting to cross at a pedestrian crossing. But again, some drivers don't. So we actually have to make sure that the cars have actually stopped again before we cross that road. If we're going to cross a road and there's no pedestrian crossings, no traffic lights, we should look for a part of the road that is nice and straight. So then we can again stand back from that curb, look both ways. We've got a really good distance to see that it is actually safe to cross the road. Where not to cross the road would be on near the brow of a hill or on corners, because obviously we don't have good visibility when we are looking in each direction. So traffic lights, pedestrian zebra crossings, nice straight parts of the road. Now I'd like to talk about footpaths. Obviously, footpaths is where people not only walk, but they also scooter, they bike on. Just because we're walking on footpaths, it doesn't mean that we'll always be safe. We also have to make sure that obviously when we're walking, that we are safe. We always teach the children to walk on the side of the footpath that is away from the curb. We call this the house side of the footpath. So it's always safer to walk to the house side of the footpath. So it could be a house beside, but also it could be some shops. It could be a school or some buildings, but we call it the house side of the footpath. That is the safest place for us to walk on. And when we're walking on footpaths, we're going to come up to lots of driveways, lots and lots of driveways. And in most areas, when we come up to our driveways, we actually once again have to stop. We have to look towards the driveway, out to the road in front of us, and also over our shoulder that is nearest to the road. We call these sneaky driveways because we can't see up, or some we can't see down them. So we do have to stop, we do have to look, we do have to listen. But what makes a driveway sneaky? It could be some like a brick wall, it could be a wooden fence, it could be some hedges, it could be some shrubbery, anything that's stopping you seeing up or down a driveway. We do have to stop, once again, look and listen before we walk across that driveway. Also, we also encounter when we're walking on footpaths that some cars actually park on the footpath. People shouldn't park on footpaths, but they do have to. But sometimes, as you say, they do it. And we've always got to manoeuvre going around these vehicles. So we always, if we have to go onto a road to go around these vehicles, once again, we're going to have to stop, look and listen to make sure it's safe to go around that vehicle. Also, when vehicles are parked on the side of the road, and we want to cross that, the best side to go round a parked vehicle is always to go around the front, because it's lower down, so you can actually see better when you get towards the front of that car, and it's the best place for us to cross. Because when it's parked at the side of the road, we can actually go onto the road and we'll still get the safety of the front of that car protecting us from cars moving on the road. And then it gives us the opportunity once again to stop, look and listen, to look up and down that road. So we should always cross at the front of parked cars. Car parks. Car parks are really, really dangerous. They really are dangerous. When we stop at car parks, especially at busy shopping centres, it can always take us a long time to get from our cars to the shopping centre and then from the shopping centre back again, because we're always stopping, we're always having to look, we're always having to listen, because cars are coming in and cars are coming out. In car parks, we basically need eyes in the back of our heads, and we do not have eyes in the back of our heads. So we're looking right, we're looking left, we're over this shoulder, we're actually over this shoulder. And when we get in car parks, we always have to make sure we hold our children's hands, right? We always have to hold our children's hands. And when they're crossing roads as well, always make sure that an adult is with them, holding their hands. And in car parks, I'll talk a bit later about what's the best side to get out of a car than others, but in car parks, the parents need to say to the kids which side they're going to get them out of, right? Let them know which side they're going to get them out of, because sometimes your car's closer to other parked vehicles. So parents make that decision and what is the safest way for their kids to actually get out of those cars when you've actually parked them. But as I say, car parks really, really dangerous. We always make sure we know where our children are, and we're always stopping, looking and listening again when it's safe for us to move on. And I'm going to want to talk about passenger safety in regards to being in vehicles. We all know that everybody has to be in some sort of car seat, booster seat, or seat belts, no matter what age you are. We always have to make sure that everybody is buckled up. Everybody is buckled up. The rules are that everybody over the age of 15 is responsible for making sure that they're actually buckled up. Under the age of 15, it is a responsibility of the driver. When I go into schools, I always when I do this lesson, I always give the kids a job at the end of it. And I actually make them the seatbelt police in their vehicles. So their job is to make sure everybody has got those seatbelts on before the car actually moves. Because sometimes parents or whoever is driving the children are that busy making sure they get buckled up that they jump into the seat and they forget to put theirs on because they're just too busy thinking about other things. And I say to the kids, whose parents have done this? And they'll say, my parents done it. So that's another ticket I send out to the parents. No, once again, I'm only joking. But it's a great job that obviously they make sure that they've got a job that everybody has got that seatbelt on before the car actually moves off. And in regards to booster seats, obviously the law in New Zealand is that everybody under the age of 7 should be in a booster seat. That's the law of the country, should be under 7. And it's actually under the age of 8 if there's a booster seat available for them to sit in. But children are all different sizes, and you should keep your children in the booster seats a lot older than 7 years of age. They actually say that your children should be 148 centimeters tall. It's actually quite tall. So once your kids get to 7 and the booster seats are there, utilize those booster seats. Because I have, my girls were basically in their booster seat until well over 9 years of age, because the seatbelt actually fits them a lot better the taller they are. It actually fits them better. So if you can, as I say, the law of the country is under 7, but try and keep them in it a lot longer than that until they get a lot taller, up towards that 148 centimetre mark. And I want to talk a bit about, well, before I talk about that, I want to talk about how about exiting a vehicle. What is the safest way to exit a vehicle? If vehicles are parked at the side of the road, we should get out our children onto the footpath. The only person that should get out on the other side is the driver, and they look in both of the mirrors and they look over their shoulder like the kids do when they come up to like sneaky driveways to make sure no cars are coming past. And when it's safe to do so, they exit the vehicle and walk safely to the footpath. All children should get out onto the safety of the footpath. Even if they are sitting in their booster seat closest to the road, they unbuckle and they come through onto the footpath. I've been to too many schools where I have actually seen parents, when I'm actually there, trying to get their kids out of the back roadside door. And they're actually not only trying to get their kid out, but they're actually trying to stop the car door from going any further because they know cars are actually getting passed on that side. So the safest thing we have to do is make sure our children get out onto the safety of the footpath. Distractions. I mean, drivers have got hard jobs getting people safely, not only themselves, but others from A to B. When my children were just over 5 years of age, they were going off in the back of the car at each other. I was telling them to stop, but they just didn't listen. If I had not stopped the car at the side of the road, I would probably have had some sort of accident, because drivers would just lose concentration, especially if they have to then turn away from looking at the road to looking behind them to tell the children, obviously, maybe to tone it down a little bit, because obviously they're quite vocal. So what can children do? We don't want them to shout and yell and scream, so distracting driver, but they can do lots of things in the back of the car. I mean, some can read books, some can't, so obviously they might get a bit sick from it. They play hand games. Some kids have even got their devices. They can play I Spy. So there's lots of things that they can do to, rather than distracting the driver by obviously maybe making too much noise from the back. And in long journeys, a sleep would be great, because obviously the driver, they can then get a break from it. But as I say, we've just got to make sure that obviously we're fully focused on the role of the driver, and that is obviously making sure everybody gets safely from A to B. And just on distractions as well, in regards to mobile phones, I mean, we all know that we shouldn't be talking on mobile phones as a law of the country, but even when people are actually walking on footpaths, they're on their mobile phones, they've got earphones in. I mean, some people don't even realise they're coming up to a road, and some people have walked out and cars have had to suddenly stop because people have been more interested in what's going on their mobile phone than their own personal safety when they're walking on footpaths and also crossing roads. I'm now going to talk about a bit about scooters and a bit about bikes, because we do know that people scooter and people bike on footpaths. If people are going to be scootering and biking on footpaths, when they come up to driveways, they have to do the same thing as people who are actually walking. They have to stop, they have to look, and they have to listen. When people are on scooters and bikes, I see it too many times, they just go right past the driveways at speed. And in some instances, vehicles have come out of driveways, and there's only going to be one winner in regards to that, because people going at speeds on scooters and bikes, they're going to hit a solid object, and obviously sometimes the outcomes are not good. So when we're scootering, biking on these footpaths, we've got to make sure that it's actually safe for us to be doing that. Most kids who do ride bikes to school will be on the footpaths because it's the safest place for them to be, but they've got to make sure they're actually safe. Remember, just because you're on a footpath doesn't mean that you are going to be safe. You have to make sure that you actually are. If your children are actually riding bikes to school and they're on the road, obviously we need to make sure that they are actually safe enough to be on those roads. Parents might take them out and obviously teach them the skills and all that to actually doing it. We always have to cycle to the left, always to the left, out from the curb, not right at the curb, so we've got to cycle out from it. And when we're going to be turning right or turning left, we've got to signal appropriately to let the other road users at the time know that we're going to be turning right and we're going to be turning left. And before we signal, we also have to look. And whether you're turning right or left, we always have to look over our right shoulder towards the road. That's where we have to look. Then we will signal for a minimum of 3 seconds and then manoeuvre to take whatever turn we are going to be taking. So, as I say, we've got to be safe when we are cycling on the roads. And if we're cycling in a group, we don't take up the whole road. We've got to single file, cycle in single file. We've got to do that. And when we are riding bikes, we also have to remember we have to wear a helmet. Very important that we wear a helmet. I'll see some kids cycling to school and the helmet will be buckled on the handlebars, not even on the head, but be on the handlebars. We have to wear them because people do have accidents. And as I say, I do cycling myself. I've come off my bike occasionally, and the helmets are there to do a job, right? They're there to protect your head. We only get one brain. We have to look after it. We have to look after it. And you can have the best helmets out there, the safest helmet, but if you do not fit it properly, it will not do the job that it is meant to do. You also have to make sure the helmet fits snugly, obviously around your head. Obviously, both sides of the strap should come down and stop just below the ear. And your helmet should sit low on the forehead, basically just above the eyebrows. And when you fasten the buckle, it should be buckled below your neck, and you should only just be able to get one finger width in the space. You might think it's tight, but once it's on, it will fit snugly. And then finally, you have to check by rolling the helmet back and forth in your head. The helmet should not move more than ½ an inch in any direction. It should not move more than ½ an inch in any direction. As I say, we've all got responsibilities, and obviously keeping our children safe when we are not only walking on footpaths, but also crossing roads, and by using, obviously, whether walking, cycling, or scootering. As our children get older, we've got to let that rope go a little bit. So obviously once they can do these things, then you let them maybe do it on their own. But obviously you would supervise that they actually can do it on their own. And I cannot reiterate that parent behaviour is huge in our children's lives, huge. If they see you doing something that probably you shouldn't be doing, they just copy what they mimic what we do. So if you've got good practices around crossing roads, being safe when you're walking on footpaths, and obviously do the right things that we should be doing, then our children will be a lot safer. We just got to remember that don't expect drivers to do what drivers should do, because they don't. And I think we've all been guilty of it at some point, but we don't do what we've got to do, right? We have to stop for red lights. We have to stop at stop signs. We have to stop at we have to give way signs. But some people who are walking might be expecting cars to do the right thing, but they don't. I'd just like to say it's been fantastic to be given this opportunity to come and obviously talk to you today. And I do believe that obviously some questions will be coming in. So I'm more than happy to answer those questions. So I will pass it back to Ocean, and I obviously look forward to the questions, which I will try and answer. Thank you.